Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
It's Dable. D like table, Dable. Yep, that's it. I've heard a lot of them.
It's not the ball, like run the ball. It's not Dayball. It's Dable, the new offensive coordinator of the Crimson Tide, teaching everyone how to properly pronounce his name. Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock Bottling Company. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. And from Buffalo Rock tonight, we've got Diet Pepsi. You know, Pepsi is a Southern tradition. And when you want all the Pepsi flavor, but you don't want the sugar, you don't want the calories, you can go the Diet Pepsi route. Remember to pick up some Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery or convenience store. All right, Rod, let's get to it. Alabama football is underway. I know we haven't played any games yet, but it's back. The Crimson Tide already holding practice number 6 this afternoon in the Hank Crisp indoor facility. Of course, the rain had to put them inside. It was heavy out there today, so let's get right to it. Okay, we're about a week in. We had the open practice on Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Just your thoughts on what you've seen so far in this first week.
Well, I think, first of all, obviously it's still really early. You know, today was the first day in pads.
Right.
So it's difficult to make a lot of judgments, and we don't have a lot of opportunity, as we've told our viewers before, to see a lot. But I can tell you this, when you walk in the gate, once again, Gary, and you and I have talked about this, you see an extremely impressive football team when you're talking about physically, athletically, and all of those things. It's what you have come to expect over the last, 7, 8, 9 years here under Nick Saban. Again, there are a lot of new faces, a lot of young players. And I'll tell you this, I'm not sure physically that I've ever seen a better-looking group of a freshman class than what they have right now.
You said today, the first day in pads, old school football coaches will tell you, you can't tell who a football player is until you put on the pads. They were inside, but that facility is 130 yards long. It's plenty of room to work. We saw that one clip of the offensive line, and the reason I bring that up is, again, there's no depth chart. I want to be clear on that. I don't know who the starters are going to be, but today you would assume the first group of offensive linemen would have Jonah Williams, Pierce Baker, and Bozeman on it, and then we saw on the right side Lester Cotton and Womack. So I would have to, based on that, think those are the two leaders to start at right guard and right tackle.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much resumed from spring practice. That's pretty much the way it ended. But there's competition, obviously. I think they've got to shore that offensive line up. If they can do that, this offense has a chance to be very, very potent.
Defensively, I've rattled these names off until I have them, engraved in my mind, but Jonathan Allen, Tim Williams, Ryan Anderson, Reuben Foster, Dalvin Tomlinson, Eddie Jackson, Marlon Humphrey, all those guys last year were starters. They're now in the National Football League. At most places, Rod, let's be honest, you lost that kind of talent on defense, you would be expecting a year in which you were in trouble. Not the case at Alabama.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to prove defensively. I mean, with some of these guys that are stepping in, obviously Daron Payne is a tremendous player, and he's going to be very key up front on the defensive line. I think Deshaun Hand looks as good as he's ever looked, Gary, to be quite honest with you. Raekwon Davis is an outstanding-looking young sophomore defensive lineman. Isaiah Buggs, Quinnen Williams, a couple of freshmen, LeBron Ray, Fadarian Mathis, and there's others, maybe leaving a couple out. At the linebacker spot, I really like what I see out of Rashawn Evans. I think he shows a lot of intensity. He's a very fast player. I think this is his year. Sean Deion Hamilton seems to have bounced back. I like Terrell Lewis outside, Anthony Jennings, Christian Miller. Again, we're starting to rattle off some names that I think have a chance to kind of pick up the slack as you were talking about.
Yeah, watch Christian Miller. That's my guy to have a breakout year. I really think he's going to have a big year, bigger, faster, stronger than he's been in the past. All right, Rodney, let's move on. Of course, the quarterback situation seems to be set this year at Alabama. Jalen Hurts, number 1, Tua Tagovailoa, number 2. Last year, though, it was not set, really. Blake Barnett got the start, but Jalen Hurts took over and started the rest of the way. Today, in an ESPN.com article, Blake Barnett and Cooper Bateman, former quarterbacks now at other schools, while they're worried about Alabama, I don't know, but a reporter called them and asked them about their time at Alabama. They had what I would call some I don't know if I'd call them controversial comments, but comments where there certainly seemed to be some bitterness there. They said that Nick Saban did not communicate correctly to them. They were frustrated with how the quarterbacks were handled. The bottom line is they got beat out by a true freshman. I guess I would be frustrated too. But why, if you're trying to win jobs at other schools, and neither one of them are running first team right now at Arizona State and Utah, why would you want to rehash this now? I know they were asked, but still, I bet you David Cornwell was asked as well, and he wasn't in the article.
Yeah. I really think, and I said this before the show, talking to some people out in the hallway, I think that this is the opportunity to say, hey, listen, I've moved on. I was at Alabama. I enjoyed my time. Now I'm here trying to compete at my new school and see if I can win the job here. It didn't work out well at Alabama in terms of playing time for those two guys, but I tell you what, you talk about communication. Here's the thing you have to understand. I know a lot of these players, and certainly a lot of quarterbacks' dads are the worst. I'm just going to be honest with you when you're trying to deal with them. And what they don't understand is you can communicate something, but once you get into a game, you know, things change, Gary. You go with the flow of the game. You go with the guy that thinks gives you the best opportunity to win in that particular instance. And the USC game, to be honest with you, Blake Barnett was a young redshirt freshman, understandably so. He had a little bit of stage fright. Jalen Hurts got in the game. I know he fumbled the first play, but after that, I mean, he did some fantastic things. Nick Saban made the decision, hey, this guy gives us the best opportunity to win. That's what you have to do.
Well, Rodney, you and I both know whether it's quarterback, offensive tackle, linebacker, those positions every year, you have to fight for your position. In fact, Nick Saban tells the players, I'm recruiting guys to take your place. That's just the way it is. And quarterback's no different. And, they both had their opportunity. I would be frustrated as well, but I'm with you. You're at other schools. You're trying to win jobs there. Let it go. But anyway, it made news today, so we thought we would bring it up. Still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama basketball. Men's basketball making a name for itself north of the border, and they're proving why this team is. The fans have a lot to be excited about this coming season. Plus, the Crimson Tide's 2018 football recruiting class is picking up a lot of momentum. We'll discuss 3 new commitments to Alabama since the last time we joined you. That's coming up. And phone calls. Listen, it's wide open right now. The season is here. It's time to talk some football. Of course, if you want to talk another sport, we'll do that as well. But I want to hear from you folks. You can get through right now at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Call in now. You'll be in line to get on the program. Also, you can email us, TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can tweet at us. Use that hashtag TITV. That's what will get you through to Brandon and Bethany, and they'll get you on the program through Twitter because we want to hear from our fans and the folks that want to talk Alabama sports. Tider Insider TV coming back with more right after this. You stay with us. The annual Fan Day and Picture Day was this past Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. There's Coach Saban, Bradley Bozeman, Sean Dion Hamilton taking the team photo. And then after practice that day, the open practice attended by about 2,500 fans, players and coaches signed autographs. Now listen, fans were not allowed to sprint across the field anymore. It's a safety issue. So there were some power walkers, but I will say for all the people that like to make fun of the folks sprinting across the field, everybody was very, very well behaved on Saturday. So it was a big fun time, too. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris. Alabama football had a big recruiting week this past week as well, landing 3 commitments, the latest one coming yesterday for the class of 2018. Let's go backtrack a little bit. Last week, the first of the 3 was Louisiana all-purpose star Shade Bolden. He committed to Alabama last Thursday, 5'11", 197 from West Monroe, Louisiana, where Alabama has had a lot of success recruiting. Slot receiver. I understand Brian Dable loves this kid. He did a little bit of everything last year as a wide receiver, a safety, a quarterback. You see his athleticism. He should fit this new system well as far as being a guy, Rodney, that can play in the slot. Also, he'll graduate early in December and enroll in January. The next day, Alabama landed 4-star defensive end Cameron Latu of Salt Lake City, Utah, as Utah's #2 overall player. He recorded 65 tackles, including 9 sacks in 2016. 6'5", 236, very athletic, as you see. Had previously committed to BYU, but now will wind up at Alabama over the likes of USC, Utah, and others. He was the Tide's 9th commitment for 2018, but Alabama finished its hot streak on Monday. Boy, I like this young man. You talk about an athlete on the offensive line. 3-star offensive guard Jarrett Bell of California, 6'4", 290, 30-inch vertical jump. Bench presses 225 18 times, runs a sub-5-second 40-yard dash. Number 10 on the commitment list. So, Rodney, I tell you what, Bama fans have been worried this year. Where are the commitments? Well, 3 in the last, 5 days, and you're seeing video of Bell. This is another example of how Alabama recruits. He did not go to any of the recruiting showcases. I'd never heard of the kid until maybe a couple months ago. He comes to camp. He performs well. He gets an offer. He's coming to Alabama.
Well, Alabama did not even know about him. Did not know he was coming to camp. He's from Norco, California. He was a defensive lineman, never has played offensive line in a game. What happened was he realized that his future was on the offense, so at his high school, he switched to the offensive line in the spring, had a good spring, decided he wanted to come to Alabama's camp, see if he could turn some heads. He obviously did, Gary. I mean, did an outstanding job at camp. You talked about some of those numbers, sub 5'0" at 290 pounds. He had a 4.4 shuttle. That's fantastic for a guy like that. Cameron Latou, outstanding defensive end, outside linebacker type guy, long rangey, the kind of guy that Alabama recruits. I really like Slade Bolden. He's a multi-purpose player. He's a guy that when he gets his hands on the ball, Gary, he's extraordinarily quick, makes a lot of plays. This guy accounted for nearly 40 touchdowns last year. He's just very, very quick. I think you mentioned Julian Edelman.
Yeah,
with the Patriots. He reminds a lot of people of a guy like that.
Yeah.
Edelman was a quarterback in college.
He sure was.
I really like these guys. Again, maybe Alabama fans are thinking don't have as many stars by their names, but let me tell you something. Nick Saban, they're the best evaluators in the country.
I think he knows what he's doing. All right, Rodney, let's move on. The new look Crimson Tide men's basketball team dominated in its first exhibition game north of the border last night in Montreal. They took it out on McGill University. John Petty, 22 points in 16 minutes, 6 of 8 from three-point range. Colin Sexton had 13 points in the game. So did Daniel Giddens, the transfer from Ohio State. Armand Davis, who decided to come back for his senior year, had 14 points. They lit it up, 96-57. Head coach Avery Johnson said that offensively, yes, Alabama scored a lot of points, but in the second half, they let it get a little sloppy.
Offensively, in the first half, I thought we did a great job with our pace. We set great screens. John made some shots. Guys had great spacing on offense. But in the second half, we got really, really sloppy. So for me, that gives me something to talk to the team about, watch some video, break down the video. But we have really good kids on our team. They want to play the right way. So we had some correctable mistakes out there tonight.
And from Montreal, the team goes on to Ottawa to play 2 games tomorrow night and Thursday night against 2 more teams. But a good start. I mean, I know the competition level's not as high as obviously it will be when they get into the season. But you score 96 points. You win by 39 points. They got up and down the floor. It gave Alabama fans a reason to justify all the optimism, I think.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of excitement on TiderInsider.com. Gary, apparently John Petty was raining jumpers.
No sleep on John. Hey, listen, I said on my radio show this morning, nothing against Colin Sexton. He's awesome. But John Petty's been on the national radar since he was in the 9th grade. People knew who John Petty was before they'd ever heard of Colin Sexton. And John Petty, they're on the same team, but John Petty's a competitor. I know he hears Colin Sexton, Colin Sexton, Colin Sexton, and he went out there last night and showed you what he's all about as well. Those two together, they're dynamic.
Yeah, that's incredible, Gary. I don't know exactly when Alabama's had some freshmen, especially like those two that have been like that, as true freshmen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while. I think all the way back to Bobby Lee Hurt and Enos Watley when you had all the excitement that surrounded them. And it's going to be really exciting watching these guys and this team as well.
Yeah, you saw Braxton Key. He's already an old man as a sophomore now with all these freshmen. Good start for the Tide. Coming up on TITV, more Alabama basketball, including a pay raise for Coach Avery Johnson. But up next, we'll welcome in your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the information. Phone lines are open at 205-348-9882. Give us a call or email us or tweet at us using that hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The one, the only award-winning Tider Insider TV will return right after this timeout. Alabama's Avery Johnson was one of 8 Crimson Tide coaches that received new contracts following a meeting of UA's Board of Trustees Compensation Committee last week. Johnson received a 2-year extension that will run through 2023, and he'll be paid $2.9 million a year. And I tell you what, as we talked about earlier, he's got a basketball team that could get Bama back in the NCAA tournament. All right, Rod, let's get to the phone lines. They're lined up. First up is John in Birmingham. Welcome in, John.
Hey there. I've got a question.
Sure.
Do you think Nick Saban's going to rotate the running backs with 3 or 4 running backs? Because I know both the Harrises are good. I saw spring practice, and I liked what I saw from even Nigel Harris.
Yeah, John, he is. He's going to play several of those guys, and it wouldn't even shock me if Brian Robinson played as well, now that Emmons is transferred. Not predicting that, but I think at least 4 will play. Wouldn't shock me if they played 5. As to who will start, I think Bo Scarborough's probably the inside track there. I don't know that for sure, but all these guys are going to play. They're all really good, and as we've seen in the past, Rodney, you need a lot of running backs to go through an entire season.
And I think the starter could vary from game to game,
Yeah, it could.
depending on who they're playing and what they want to do initially when they get the ball. And but all those guys are certainly capable, John, of being outstanding players, and I think they're all, as you mentioned, going to play. Now, the one that, like you mentioned, may not play
is Robinson.
Early on, but he's going to be a player.
Yeah, and it wouldn't shock me if he did play this year. It wouldn't shock me if he redshirted. We'll just have to see. Good call, John, in Birmingham. Let's go to Bluff Park and talk with Rick. Rick, what's up, man?
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing?
Well.
Appreciate y'all taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. I'd like to ask you about 2 of our young defensive players, if either of them are still there, Shaheem Carter and Mecky Brown, and also who is going to be the sure-enough pure-and-tea striker on the defense this year.
Okay, good
Thank
call.
you for taking my
Rick,
call.
good call. And because Shaheem Carter and Mekhi Brown are 2 guys that have, they're here, but they, you don't hear about them that much. So update us on their status.
Shaheem Carter yesterday, Shy Carter working at the star position when we had the opportunity to view them. I like Shy Carter. I think he's going to be an outstanding player in time, again, developing. Mekhi Brown working at that outside linebacker, Gary, and, he's the guy. He's got some competition there. But, he certainly looks the part. But, again, a lot of competition there at that outside linebacker spot.
And as far as I take it, when you said who's going to be the striker, you're the thumper, the big hitter, that's what I'm assuming you meant, Rick, kind of like a Reuben Foster type. There's several guys that could fill the bill. I'll be honest with you, Rodney mentioned him earlier. I love Dion Hamilton, but I think Rashaan Evans is a guy that is going to ring some bells. As I said yesterday about Keith Holcomb, I think Rashaan Evans, same kind of guy. He'll lay a lick on you and won't apologize for it.
He will, and I think Rashaan, this is his senior year. I think he's really focused.
All right. We've got a couple calls on hold. Thanks for the 2 calls we've had already. We'll be back with more phone calls. We'll get to Philip and Clinton when we come back here on Tider Insider TV. Stay with us. Hey, this Julio Jones site that we're dropping, is it run anywhere? I might run it in sports. Is it run anywhere else already? Oh, okay. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV, everybody. Gary Harris, Rodney Orr. Let's get right back to the phone lines. Philip has been patiently holding down there in Clinton, Peach Country. What's up, Philip?
Well, I had a question about our big non-conference games. I think we usually have one per year, and it appears that neutral site games are here to stay because of money reasons and also the recruiting. So is is it an unfortunate truth that pretty much the days of UCLA and Oklahoma and Penn State coming to Bryant-Denny, is that pretty much over?
Well, Philip, I can't say 100% certainty that it's over. There could be schedule changes. There might be an additional game added, but it most likely is for the reasons you mentioned. If you play with those kind of teams, you play at home one year, you got to travel the next year. You have one less home game. You can play these neutral site games, split the pot. So I think, I'm not going to say they're dead, but certainly they won't be the usual way of scheduling anymore.
Yeah. Alabama's had some great series through the years. They've had home and homes with Nebraska, with USC, with Oklahoma. Several big-time programs. Obviously, they had the 10-year run with Penn State. You remember back in the 80s, into the 90s, and those are a lot of fun, certainly. But right now the trend is, like you said, the neutral site games. I really like those, and you never know when times will change, and maybe they go back to those home and home types. Yeah,
good call, Philip. All right, let's take a tweet, and this comes from Mike C. _ T-Town. Predictions for the 2017 team identity on defense and offense. Rodney, I'll just let you take that. What do you think the defense's identity will be in 2017?
Well, I really, first of all, I think this defense is going to be really fast. I mean, and again, I think we need to wait a little bit and see about the defensive line. They're replacing a lot of really good players. Depth is a little bit of a concern right now, I would think. Also at the cornerback spot, some depth issues maybe, but I think this team defensively is going to be very, very fast, Gary, and I think you're right. I think it's going to be a real physical team overall.
Offensive identity?
Offensive identity, I think they're going to really be able to pound the football. I think they're going to be really diverse. I think Brian Daboll's going to utilize, as we've talked about many times since he's gotten here, they're going to utilize all the weapons. They're going to throw to the tight end. They're going to throw to the backs, the receivers. They'll throw short. They'll throw long. I just think it's going to be a very diversified offense.
All right, we'll find out soon enough, starting September 2nd in Atlanta against Florida State. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Tommy is with us in Talladega. Hey, Tommy, what's up, man? Tommy, you with us? Going once, going twice. All right, Tommy wanted to know about the latest on the place kicker battle. Well, it's just getting started good, but it is a position of concern. There's no doubt about that. Not a proven place kicker on the roster.
Well, I think, first of all, we have to wait till the scrimmages to get going. You hear things that kind of trickle out. Joseph Baluvas, the true freshman from Mandeville, Louisiana, supposedly kicks well, kicks with a lot of confidence. But, Gary, it's all about what do you do when the lights come on. Mm-hmm. And, scrimmages are going to be big. Andy Papanastos is in the middle of it. J.K. Scott could even place kick as well. So we'll have to see how they do in the scrimmages, how they do in the games. And, right now I would kind of lean towards the freshman.
Yeah, one note on J.K. Scott. I talked to him at Media Day Saturday morning. He did say, if he's asked to do it, he'll do it with all his ability. He said he's ready to step up if needed. I don't think that's Alabama's preference. I don't think that's his preference. Mm-hmm. But if he has to do both, he's capable of doing both. Of course, he's one of the best punters in the country. We know that for sure. Well, thanks for the phone calls. Thank you for the tweets. We're still taking care of business here on TITV. Coming up, Nick Saban says it's his favorite day of the year. We'll take a look back at the annual Nick's Kids Luncheon that kind of kicks off fall practice. It's a cloudy night here in Tuscaloosa. It's rained all day, but we're feeling like sunshine because we're on TITV. We'll be right back with more. Stay tuned after this. What a scene last Wednesday inside the North Zone at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The annual Nick's Kids Luncheon, children, families, and donors celebrated alongside Nick and Terry Saban with great food, photo booths, and pictures with the coach. The foundation set a record this year, giving back more than $500,000 to organizations around Alabama in need. That's more than $7 million since the Sabans came to Tuscaloosa. Well, that's going to do it for the program for this week. But before we leave you, we'll tell you about the Locker Room, downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original Elephant wear like Rodney and I are wearing tonight. You can visit them downtown or you can shop online at locker-room.biz. Either way, look through their inventory. They will have you looking like $1 million. I promise you that. The Locker Room, downtown Tuscaloosa. All right, for Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching. Reminder, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30, or you can find it anytime at WVUA23.com. Good night.